Welcome to Thought Crimes, everybody, and this is your girl, Sincere.
Hey, of course, this is your man Savage Solo. We're gonna talk about Drake's Last Dance.
So basically, you see Drake being very desperate, going out, hopping on any type of trend or wave. He used a cheat code for, nice for what, and all these different things. Behind the scenes, people don't understand that a lot of these little guys that Drake is hopping on are on food stamp lines. These people are these young men are broke. They're desperate. They're trying to get out of poverty, and Drake is being his own poverty pimp by trying to use them a little bit as a factory to get hot because he's desperate to keep up with the things that he's bought into in life. I think he has a over $5 million home. And a lot of other things that Drizzy Drake has bought, so he needs these guys to keep going. Now, I will make it clear, if you love music, if you're a musician, you should be performing until you die, on stage like the Rolling Stones. That doesn't mean something's wrong with you financially if you're making music for the love of it, because usually people who make music for the love of it, you see them usually have, at the very least, have a 2-year break period. A lot of these artists that you see today, which I don't really want to call them artists to that level, are not making music for the love of it. Is making music to stunt, to try to sell, to promote businesses. That's where you have your Drakes and some of the other guys that are out right now that are trying to push for their own little businesses or try to stay afloat for the loans that they've taken out. And Drake is no different in that regard. He's not making music because he loves it. At this point, he's making music because he needs to. And now you see him with, what was it, Pikachu? Is that a track or artist? It's silly shit like that.
Yeah, it's very simple. Drake is just getting old, and the antics are over. Nobody's really talking about him like that. Somebody say, oh, well, you guys are talking about him. No, we're giving you a realistic perspective of Drake. I saw an article not too long ago that said Drake is the most talked about artist this year. And I says, no, I beg to differ. He's not the most talked about artist this year or most talked about rapper. That's what they stated. He's the most talked about rapper. I says, no. Technically, if we're going to say that, if I actually pull social media, unfortunately, it would be the likes of a Tekashi 6ix9ine or a Trippie Redd. Doesn't mean I'm in support of these guys artistically, absolutely not. But if you're talking about who are saying what about these artists and the salaciousness that's driving them, that would be those two guys. Outside of that, what we've seen with Drake, which is what Sin definitely alluded to about the cheat code, when he did the track Nice for What, it reeked of desperation for me personally. And I said, that's interesting. Here we go. We're on the downshift. This is the downwind. Now people are actually saying, Drake does look old. He seems a little old for some of these topics. He hasn't changed artistically. He's relied on trends. He's tried to compete with Jay-Z in the longevity factor. Jay-Z is a different type of rapper MC. He actually writes his own shit for the most part too as well. As much as we like to joke about what took place with Meek Mill and Drake, Meek Mill, before his head got taken off, he did leave his dagger in Drake's kidney. And Drake right now has been staggering and knocking into stuff and getting last punches in. Meanwhile, he's still bleeding from that kidney. And what we see right now, which is something a lot of people don't want to really admit, because we have a lot of commentators, especially on YouTube, they get money off of talking about Drake. They don't want to admit, like, oh man, I ain't gonna have nothing else to talk about. It's kind of like Skip Bayless with LeBron James. If LeBron James retires, a majority of sports commentators, at least the ones who thrive on salaciousness, they're not gonna have anything to talk about. Somebody else like Chris Broussard, they're just going to go over and analyze the Celtics. They're going to go over and analyze the New York Knicks. They're going to go over and analyze Ben Simmons. But somebody like Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith may become a little bored. I think he'll fare out a little better. But most people would have a hard time finding out something else to talk about if it wasn't for LeBron James. Same thing for Drake. Look, we already see certain artists to some degree are kind of getting a little bit more shine. What's the cat out there in California? Kyle? I'm not really into his music, but I do see his name popping up more. We saw what happened with Chance the Rapper. Chance the Rapper, let's be real, he didn't have enough staying power, and he wouldn't keep his fucking mouth shut. Drake, if you look at him, look at the JB Block Boy video. It reeked of desperation. It just, even him dancing, he's like, oh, finally I have one more hit until I drop this album. Then I'm pretty sure the critics are going to pan, and then I'll coast on to something else. But what is something else for Drake? Where can he go? And then also, when we talk about the Nice for What video, again, reeked of desperation. But we're going to go ahead and continue to get further into this. What are your thoughts on some of those things, Shin?
Reeks of desperation. This is a world of lies, built on false perception, and is not built on anything that is tangible. And the problem is that we have a bunch of people that believe everything they see from people they do not know, and it's very problematic, which is why also politicians can pull a lot of crap over people, because of them believing in false notions and false narratives. Look at how Trump, a celebrity, got into the Oval Office. Or even if we could talk about before him, Ronald Reagan, although Ronald Reagan played the game of a politician, of the being prestige, and the false cultural classiness of the White House, that he tried to keep that culture alive, though, whereas Trump has completely removed that and brought his complete celebrity lifestyle into the White House. So going back to Drake, it doesn't surprise me that people believe that Drake is just this monster, this beat, this dude who's unstoppable. People don't understand that there are a lot of people who make money off of Drake. You have Apple, you have other entities. I know Apple and the Drake deal isn't still on the table like it was before, but the whole point is there's people who make money off of Drake. And yeah, you got Drake selling alcohol, Diddy, Ciroc. I don't know the numbers for their alcoholic beverages, but I do find it a little bit interesting that that's where a lot of rappers go to, is selling alcohol. That type of alcohol too at it. To be fair, wine usually have a longer shelf life and of usually when it comes to being marketed and being pushed in that particular market, which is why a lot of people have their own vineyards or they go into that. But going back to Drake again and him eating off of these younger guys like a vampire. Who was the artist that Drake said he was messing with, and he was he was gonna help out and all that, and not too long ago he's like on EBT.
No, what happened with Drake is that he shouted out, I be on my drill shit, I be on my Lil Mouse shit, something like that. And this is when Lil Mouse was kind of popping because of shock value. Because the nigga was so young and he was talking about killing, but he was out of that whole drill craze, right? And then people I know recently said, hey, saw the nigga at the corner store using the food stamp card. I be on my Lil Mouse shit. Look, y'all. Can y'all not see that Drake has swung vine to vine to vine to vine to vine on some Tarzan shit? And we're talking about musically. Musically, it's a rap for him. It is. One thing I'll think about, it's like with Diddy. Diddy has not been able to successfully break a musical act in like 25 years. You had a whole rapper die on your label. The Making the Band series, because Diddy couldn't go no other way. He couldn't. Like, once he started getting into the 2000s, he started doing bullshit remixes, whack videos. People was like, I'm not really feeling that shit, right? So Diddy said, look, well, I have to become the star. So he did Making the Band. Making the Band allowed for Diddy to breathe another 10 years. Because musically, he was dead. Musically, he had nowhere to go. One thing I will say about these other guys, within the American pop culture stratosphere, they have been trying to peel off into other things. You stated that with Diddy and Ciroc and some of the other shit he's been trying to do as well. Because that's what he's trying to do, make sure he gets popping. Same thing with Jay-Z and what he's struggling with Tidal over there. Side note, it is interesting. We talked about it. We said it before that a hit was coming for Jay-Z. Some of you all say, oh, y'all hating on Jay-Z. No, we didn't. We told y'all. Even when we was telling y'all about what was going on, many of you all accused us of being dick riders for Jay-Z. So are we some hating ass dick riders for Jay-Z? That sounds like a confused bitch on a dick. But it is interesting that a Norwegian newspaper would come out and say that these numbers are inflated, and Spotify is a Norwegian company. Well, you know how the game is. They got to drop that shit out there on folks. But what I'm saying is this, y'all. Again, a lot of this stuff is an illusion for what you may think it is. So even when I look at Drake, just look at the quality of artists he's linking with. When we got to the Migos, it's like, yo, they got their own little thing. They were making albums. They were making solid music that people actually fucking listen to their mixtape. These artists that Drake is recording with, what nigga was listening to JB Block Boy? Yo, man, that JB Block Boy track is hot. I looked at all of the videos that Drake wasn't in with JB Block Boy. Them bitches are struggling with views. I look at all of these videos that these niggas that did one song with Drake recently and everything else that they've done outside of Drake has been struggling. Look at the caliber of artists that he's having to work with. It's like you're reaching in the barrel and it's just getting drier and drier.
As we stated in the Meek Mill video, they all trying to get their quick flip. Switch beats, dancing like an old grandmother next to Tekashi in the studio. People are trying to work with Tekashi. He's just getting pimped out too. All of them are desperate. They are all desperate. You know, you go back into the days where you really had musicians and it was for the love of the art. They would never appear on any type of single with someone they felt was musically beneath them. It always had to be somewhat of standard. And of course, we've varied off from that to a large degree. But it's been problematic right now the most because people in the music industry, this has been the most that they've been desperate to the point where they're about to suck some dick, lick a couple of clits too. Let's be honest, because even in the 90s though, it was bad there too. Not as bad as now. People still felt like, yo, I'm that person. I'm that musician. I'm that icon. Now, good luck.
Yeah, a lot of people don't get it. It's like when we see what's going on with Drake. Y'all think I'm bullshitting. Look at the artists he's recording with, or the rappers. Drake is basically clicked on the World Star Hip Hop YouTube page and says, I'll work with him. I'll work with him. Ooh, I like his video. I'm like, who are these niggas you're working with now? We don't have no more Bryson Tillers. Oh, wait, yeah, we saw what the game did to Bryson Tillers. And we saw niggas laugh at him because of his depression. But Bryson Tiller was one of the more open artists that said, hey, I'm battling depression right now. This game ain't no joke. It's not. People think I'm bullshitting. Nobody's talking about Rich Homie Quan anymore. Nobody's talking about Kurt Cobain's. Nobody's talking about any of these hot niggas that was hot at one time. You can tell where the industry is right now. Think about it. Tekashi, oh my God. Look, I'm just being honest with you. I'm saying his name because that's where the center of attention as it stands right now, right? We see Lil Pump. We see Lil Pump right there. He's really trying to milk this J. Cole situation. He's really trying to milk it because these artists have nothing to go on. And in the tradition of trashy cannibalistic rap music, okay? Trashy cannibalistic rap music, nothing was left. There was no true infrastructure left. So everybody is being the flashiest hoe on the block. Okay? And we have this weird dichotomy that goes on in hip hop. It's like what we said when Snoop Dogg, a lot of this shit started with Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. When Snoop came out, he was calling Dr. Dre his OG. You niggas like 3 years apart. How he your OG? But again, that was another way for Dr. Dre to milk at that time. Just like most of these guys have been milking waves and waves and milking and milking and milking and milking. No building. Milking and milking and milking. No building. And now they done milked everything out. So now the guys that were even at the top are looking like, yo, where can we go? I saw just recently Timberland was in the video on Instagram showing that, yo, I'm producing a track for the late Bankroll Fresh. And he was like nodding his head. He was trying to show everybody, look like, yo, I'm about to do this. I'm like, nigga, are you trying to stay relevant or something? Like, what's the significance of you producing for Bankroll Fresh? You see what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just telling y'all, a lot of these guys are looking for that last hit.
Prince, he probably has a loan he has to pay off. Maybe his home is $10 million. And now he's been sitting too long. He got to make that bread. Maybe that's why he also was desperate to do that whole thing with Swizz Beatz. You know what I'm saying? And then going back to what you talk about, crabs in a barrel, they're all cannibalizing each other. That's what backward-minded black people do in white space. Think about it. White people are making them or persuading them, some of them forced, some of them, most of us persuading them to suck their dick to get a certain amount of trinkets. And then when they decide not to give out them trinkets anymore, what do? They attack each other. They attack each other in that same little barrel. And they are cannibalizing each other. Drake is cannibalizing those little dudes. Them little dudes are cannibalizing each other. When you hear black folks say, I ain't no one coming for my money. I'm getting my money. I don't care what these niggas say. Usually poor black people or the working class or the middle class. For whitey, whether they're working for whatever these major white corporations, they're all cannibalizing each other. They are all hurting each other just to get one half a step ahead.
We saw what happened with Bankroll Fresh. It was another fucking rapper that killed him. Because he had a little bit more shine. He could have almost been something great. Look, man, this whole rap game is bullshit. A lot of people are speaking to what it really is, but a lot of y'all are just judging it on, I don't hear no music I like. But what you're really feeling is that it's an industry that's, for the most part, is closing down. If you don't believe me, go look at the numbers. Go look at the rappers who are on the Billboard charts. Go look at the reviews of the album. There's a reason why Migos did a double disc album. It isn't because they wanted to be in the Hall of Hip Hop Fame with the likes of Art and War by Bone Thugs and Harmony, or All Eyes on Me, or Life After Death. No, it's because they figured they can get more streaming value for having a double disc album on many of these streaming platforms. But then here's the real question. Why did they need to do that? Was it one album enough? No. Look, we got DJ Khaled running around right now, stealing shit. Just stealing shit. Fucking remixing whatever the fuck he wants to remix. People complained about Diddy. Well, some people may say, well, it started with Diddy. There's a difference. DJ Khaled signing a bunch of people or taking rights from people's records. Well, I guess they have a mirroring effect of each other. But then it don't matter because Khaled's on Rock Nation. He's cool with Jay-Z. Jay-Z said, I want a black independent business spec. Do we really want that? Well, why are you signing Khaled? Right? We saw what he did with Ace Hood. We got Jay-Z running around here handing out rock chains. And it's like Dame Dash said, stupid Rockefeller records don't even exist. How the fuck does Big Sean have a rock chain? You see what I'm saying? Look, what I'm saying is this, is everything is symbolic right now. Everything is symbolic. But there's nothing there. Like, people are symbolically looking at the mythos of Drake, but not looking at the track record this year. Look at his numbers. Look at the metrics. Look at the Barry Bond numbers. People are looking at the mythos of some of these guys. Diddy. You know, look at what's going on with Khaled. Listen to what artists like Bryson Tiller is saying. Listen to Keisha Cole. She says, I'm in debt. Okay? Look, why are these motherfuckers appearing on Love and Hip Hop? Come on, let's be real. Let's be real. Like, why are all these motherfuckers running to Love and Hip Hop like that's the new hot record label?
Young Jeezy had fear on him when he was on Everyday Struggle. These people weren't paying attention. What did he say? Basically, Jay-Z has fear on him. which is why Rick Ross, Jeezy, T.I., trying to surround himself with everyone because he feels scared. He doesn't feel safe. And Jeezy was sitting there. He was talking to Joe Budden. When he was talking to academics. When I heard him speaking, I heard fear. It's like, well, we all we got. But y'all are not expanded enough with that concept of we are all we got. That's why this black excellence from these people is dangerous. Because that black excellence is not including them black tech kids, coders. You got, don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna bash everyone. You got a few of them like will.i.am and Neo who really believe in that, allegedly putting into the children for that. But the majority of them are not including people in tech. They're not including people in agriculture. They're not, hell, you think about Walmart. Walmart, for example, is a $180 billion company, even right now, even with the fact of Amazon becoming major. $170 billion of a grocery chain, right? Tell me, what are we doing here? What are we doing here as a people? Black excellence because you get to see fucking rappers and actors in white space make a tiny space for themselves. It's like, do I like some of the stuff Donald Glover does? Yeah, but I don't give a fuck because he's still in that space along with every single one of them. What are we expanding to? We're not expanding into tech. We're not expanding into agriculture. We're not expanding into anything that could generate real wealth, generational wealth. And black excellence does not include black excellence. It includes rappers, actors, and everyone into performing.
Yeah, black excellence doesn't include regular black folks. It's very simple. And one other thing people have to get it out of their head, and I'm talking to some of the people who have messaged us, who've talked to us online or on the phone. It's been statistically proven, even if all of these black celebrities pool their wealth together, it's not enough to help the black community. It's not. And that's another issue. It's too much of a victim mentality. Some of you all are actually waiting for these people to do something. They're not going to be able to do anything. They don't even have enough wealth to pull together to pull some of their asses out of debt. Some of them just don't have money. And I got the same thing too when I watch Young Jeezy on the Everyday Struggle show. He was trying to say in so many words, it's not that many of us at the top, which is why you heard Jay-Z rapped about it on Black Excellence. Remember that Jay-Z was talking about hustling, getting to the top of 100 million, 200 million. I'm raping Def Jam until I'm the $300 million man or whatever the fuck it was. And people was like, yo, yeah, that's what's up. I know I was a kid in the hood when I heard a nigga rap like that. So that's inspiring. But it mean my life was predicated on it because I knew the reality of the situation. I say, even though he's rapping like this, I still understand that the record label industry, the music industry is white owned. It's very white owned. It's just like Hollywood. We see all of these people hashtagging Black Excellence, Taraji P. Henson, Issa Rae, Donegal. Them three motherfuckers right there. And we're talking about a Hollywood industry where hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of successful white people have posted shop. And sometimes you get a nigga like Donald Glover or Jamie Foxx. They're very talented. They're talented in multiple areas. And people love them because they can get their most bang for their buck. He's a multi-talented slave to some degree. There's nothing a personal shot against both of the brothers, but that is how they're viewed upon. Sammy Davis Jr. was working the hardest out of the Rat Pack. He was the hardest working motherfucker and the most gifted motherfucker out of the group and was the brokest. If you look at the Rat Pack, you look at the dichotomy, that is the exact representation, metaphorically, of not only black people within white space, or black capital versus white capital, but also if we're talking about in the media industry, if we're talking about classic Hollywood space, classic music record label spaces. What Sammy Davis Jr. was to the Rat Pack is what a lot of niggas are to these white people in these white spaces, Jewish or not. Because it ain't always the J word. It's Jewish or not. So what we're saying here, even when you look at somebody like Drake, where he tried to play up his Jewish ancestry like he did, I'm like, bro, but you still hanging out here like this. Maybe you don't have that plug like you have the regular niggas thinking you had that plug.
You didn't have a bar mitzvah.
Come on, are you serious?
You had a, hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Just tell, you don't understand how big you're about to be in the Jew world.
You don't understand how big it is. First of all, I live in an all-Jewish area, so
where is that?
Forest Hill.
Okay.
I went to a predominantly Jewish school growing up. I definitely had a bar mitzvah in an Italian restaurant, mind you.
My lord.
Yeah.
A nice Italian restaurant?
A very nice Italian restaurant. The song of the night was Backstreet Boys' I Want It That Way.
You are younger than me.
Yeah.
I forget about that.
Yeah. And yeah, man, I was in there. I was in synagogue. I had my yarmulke on.
Hebrew school, the whole nine? You did no Hebrew school?
I cheated. I didn't really.
So you just did that? No. Your parents are nice.
He was scaring regular black people in the industry with the whole I'm Jewish thing, and they just fell for it because they're scared of white people and Jews in general. So it just gave him a little extra like bragging rights, but don't really see that whole clan being put to use.
Yeah, because if that was the case, we wouldn't be out here rapping with crackheads. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's what it is. I mean, again, you guys go back and you listen to this year alone. Look what's happening with Lil' Kim. Listen to what Keisha Cole was saying. We got Lil Mouse using a food stamp card. Drake found the courage enough to shout him out on the radio. Don't mean he was going to completely throw him a bone, but what we're saying is that these people are being used in the industry. And a lot of them don't have it to the level what you think they have it. I mean, you very rarely get some of these cases like a LL Cool J or some shit like that. LL Cool J works as hard as he does because he knows the dynamics of Hollywood. Steve Harvey can smile through that fat ass mustache all he wants. I'm the hardest working, I'm a hustling ass nigga. Nigga, you have to. You can't stop. You cannot afford to stop. You have not built a mythos like Dave Chappelle. You haven't reached comedically the level of a Chris Rock where you can just chill. And even Chris Rock at his fucking level, he puts it in his art all the time. He said, my next door neighbor is a fucking dentist. All right, I'm an internationally well-renowned black comedian. My next door neighbor, a white man, is a fucking dentist. So when I hear Steve Harvey, I'm the hardest worker, because you still having to hustle and stay afloat in that old space. None of them are really doing anything like a Chameleonaire who opted to go into Silicon Valley. People laugh, but Chameleonaire ain't been out publicly talking about what he's struggling with.
That's why Charlamagne feels Steve Harvey is his mentor. Bad mentor to have. Working all those jobs just to stay afloat. You know, like you said, that whole Sammy energy, which is what most black entertainers are. You know, another thing, you know, while we are having this conversation that, you know, I was thinking about, like also when you mentioned what Chris Rock talked about, you know, the dentist next door, I was also thinking about Don Cornelius. You know, because people always talk about this woke shit, this pro-black shit. You know, you have a lot of people who everything they created that was supposed to be for so-called blackness and black generationally are in the hands of white people, whether it's through relationships like Don marrying a white woman or through, you know, black people being so overly conscious of doing business with white people. You know, that can be also another reason why. But, you know, when you read on these things, I thought it was interesting how a lot of these people want to be black as blackface. It's all blackface if you think about it. But they don't want to do none of the groundwork pertaining to blackness. It's just the dancing, the music, the black excellence, you know. But I don't have anything that I want to do to really show it. I don't want to live in a black neighborhood. I don't want to be with a black person as my partner. I don't want to, and this is not for people who fall in actual love with someone. We know people that aren't in black unions, but the whole point is, though, those who proclaim to be for this whole blackness, most of them are not. You know, they don't make the sacrifices for it. They don't live in black neighborhoods. They don't do black businesses. They don't have black partners. They always run into a Jewish or white person to do business with. Of course, Sammy is going to be broke. Why would they try to do business with old Blue Eyes in the same regard as they do to someone they feel is inferior to them and superior to them at the same time? They're not. So to me, all of this is just common sense that isn't common. So that's why Drake's in the situation he is in, and that's why Black America. I mean, look at some of our videos though, Prince. Look how fucking bitchy some people are. Like, they think they have the luxury to be a bitch. We got people crying to us saying we're being too hard on black men, crying to us saying we're being too hard on black women, not having reasoning skills, listening comprehension. I mean, if we pay attention, we have a society of people who don't read. These are people who aren't astute in general. White people can get away with being dumb because of the infrastructure is built on whiteness. But those who aren't a part of that structure, like black people, can't afford to be that stupid, can't afford to be that sensitive. I mean, we in a trolling culture, in a roasting culture that's supposed to be roasting and trolling, we got some of the most sensitive people that they don't want to even listen to something to make them stronger.
Oh, I don't care if they listen or not. They'll only get it when they see it on a celebrity. People have a hard time admitting this is what it is. Black excellence allows you to be black in white space. Woke allows you to not adhere to actually living the lifestyle of a black person, right? A pro-black person. Remember now, woke is the downgrade of pro-black. It's the downgrade of conscious. I'm woke. Well, you can be woke and still fucking the shit out of a white person. You can be genuinely like, yo, I'm black. I see what's happening with, black men getting shot down or black women having the highest eviction rate in this country. I can be woke. Don't mean I'm gonna be pro-black, because pro-black means pro. You have to be pro everything, and it has to be pro-black with everything. Here's the thing about it. Case in point with these celebrities. T.I. got arrested at the gates of his own community. They called his wife. The police still said, we don't care, you're going to jail. You look at the jailhouse footage. T.I., I want to know, why did you arrest me, officer? Because they tried to say, oh, well, T.I. was drunk. Well, I listened to him in the video. He didn't seem drunk to me. He seemed pretty coherent, very sharp, and he was asking the white cop, why did you arrest me? Basically, the white cop was saying this in so many words. You had an attitude. T.I. says, but I paid millions of dollars where I stay at. The cop basically told him, a white cop told him, I don't care. Now, based on his prejudice and the fact that he felt that this boy was getting out of hand, when we've seen white soccer mothers damn near spit on a white cop and nothing happened, he felt this boy was getting out of hand and T.I. could do nothing about it. Unless he was going to end up on the 6 o'clock news for getting beat the fuck out of. But that is the relation of white wealth, white equity, which is capitulated or has been basically pulled off the back of black labor, okay? Black labor, white wealth. Dr. Jean Claude Anderson wrote an excellent book on that. But that is, again, the relationship of black America. And so when we have these artists, whether it even is a Drake, we just using Drake to open up the conversation for you niggas, but we see what he doing and how he's struggling with these. The rap game dead, y'all. It's dead on the big business end of it. Okay, it's still money to pimp out and trick out. That's where the fucking 360 deals came out. The record labels weren't making enough off of fucking albums alone. The ringtone shit was dead, so they said, how the fuck can we recoup? Well, fine, I got a great idea. Let's take a 50% of every fucking thing they do, right? And we sign the little bitches coming out of the hoods or whatever they coming from because they're slaves. The slaves. When you're a slave is a vulnerable motherfucker. It don't mean you're just black. You're just vulnerable. You're taking advantage of. You're a fucking slave, all right? A wife can be a slave. A child can be a slave. Anybody can be a slave if they're vulnerable. So that's where the 360 deals even came from. And that's when they start tagging people. We see Cardi B laughing and Tom, like, yeah, my album #1. I said, yep, and there's somebody getting 50% of that shit. That's why her ass was on Instagram bitching about taxes, because the government was still taxing her ass out of the little bit of funky money she was getting, and that was hurting her ass. So what we're saying here is we look at white wealth, white capital, and we look at the black labor that keeps the white wealth going. So when we look at these artists, we look at these rappers and they scared to speak. You see Charlamagne saying, yo, I want to be just like, I'm going to be the hardest working man. Well, hold on, homie. Everybody knows in business the key goal is to work smarter. Because we in a hyper-capitalistic, somewhat capitalism, is really an oligarchical system, but it's capitalism at its essence, or whatever the fuck we want to call it. Most of the businesses, even Jeff Bezos, how can we cut as much work and reap as much profits as possible?
Hold it right there.
Okay.
Bill Gates once said, I want to hire a very intelligent, lazy person. Everybody got mad at him, like, what do you mean? You got to work really hard. He said, no. Because a smart person will still have high quality, but he will get to it quicker and without doing as much work.
Exactly. And we still have black people in entertainment looking to work their heart out of their chest. Look, let me tell you something right now. James Brown did all that fucking sweating on stage. Michael Jackson did all that sweating on stage. Prince was lucky he was able to, whatever was left of his fucking hip, to go sit down, and that still led up to his death, among other things. Cue the X-File music. And then if we look at some of these artists now, like when I look at Steve Harvey, who wants to brag about, oh, I'm the hardest worker, I don't have time to wipe my butt. I don't want that shit. We are in a new age, and you got to find smarter ways to make money. You see what I'm saying? And if we look at how even white venture capitalists have operated, and I know people don't like it, but it's the truth, the motherfuckers always try to find the least work to put in and get the most profit. Somehow we've been stuck on a slave plantation where I'm gonna work. I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. My wife left me, my husband left me, but I work, and you hurting yourself. And you know what that is? That's short-sightedness. Because long term, ain't nothing being left for you.
Because they're going back to African principles without knowing it, about being minimalist in that degree. Because when people forget, when it came to a lot of the different tribes that came here, these were people who are highly intelligent, highly gifted, and they weren't used to like working like a dog though. They were used to having festivals and having other things culturally, and of course, some of the stuff that would be considered work now, that was just stuff that was just ingrained in their culture. They love swimming. If you talk about a lot of the different African tribes off the coast, they loved agriculture. They love science and different things like that. So a lot of them, when they came here, those were just gifted people who were trained, as you said, as slaves to overly work as a dog, on top of Puritan culture of a work is godly. So if you're working, it shows that you're close to God. People who are not working are very unproductive. That's where you hear a lot of the whole people are lazy. If you're lazy, then you're not really a worthy human being.
Right there, though. Even if that is the case, and we know it's bullshit, all right? It's just like when people say cleanliness is next to godliness, or workingness is next to godliness, or the curse of Ham. It's all shit that got tagged in later. But this is what I always get, though. Even with these celebrities, especially these black ones. The narrative of black people is still that they're lazy, they're lethargic, and they're shiftless Negroes. We have to get into the habit of thinking smarter and operating smarter. Who cares if somebody says this is lazy? No, it's not, bitch. I'm making money. I'm making money. Spike Lee said if you're doing what you love, then you've already won if you're making money from it. A lot of people go to their grave working hard. Look at all of our black entertainers. They've worked themselves into the fucking ground. Michael Jackson couldn't even sleep. He had worked so hard. Okay?
That's why he was taking that medication, yeah.
Yeah, like, let's be real about it. All of our celebrities have overworked themselves. And when I look at the like of Drake, whether y'all want to consider him ours or not, I don't give a fuck, to be honest with you. But when I saw him dancing in the JB Block video, he looked like somebody that was overworked. He looked tired. Eyes looked like they were in a sunken place, or partially in a sunken place. And when we see these artists, these black celebrities, it's the same thing, from Whitney Houston to Anita Baker to Diana Ross. Berry Gordy was a black man that owned a regular, but he worked the shit out of those people. He was fucking crazy. So, long term, it's better for us to look into other avenues such as technology, tech, coding, get into that space, working your businesses online, and kind of get out of this old slave mentality space and always trying to pillage for the last bottom of the barrel. Like we see some of these artists as well. I told y'all, the rap warehouse is closing down. A lot of niggas don't get it, but they will. Anytime you see the likes of the Little Pumps, the Little Xans, the Tekashis, the Bad Babies, Bad Barbies, the Lil Tays on the rise in the sense of notoriety and visibility. They ain't selling shit. Lil Tay's mama said, I'm just going to hustle my daughter. She didn't give a fuck. She said, I'm going to put my daughter out there and just to get a little bit of money. And that's what she did. Don't mean anything, but that's how easy this shit is now. There's nothing left. There ain't no more big nigga space like that. Drake and them motherfuckers dinosaurs. They're last of a dying breed. We don't really know what their liquidated assets are in the long run, but the way he out here hustling and working with these trashy, and yes, they're fucking trashy. Who gives a fuck about a summer single? These niggas are trashy. Some of these niggas barely got 300,000 views. At the end of all of this, you can tell all the shit is done. But you know why? Because hip-hop, like the rest of entertainment, ran off the back of a bunch of niggas that said, I hustle. I'm going to work so fucking hard. I'm going to work so hard and not try to own anything in the process. And that's why we see a lot of these struggling ass rappers.
If you're pro-black, sell your mansions that are in the white neighborhoods and use that money to build in the black ones. Use that money to buy land. Use that money to buy to build up your own home in those black neighborhoods if you're so pro-black. If you're not pro-black, then shut the fuck up.
Stop using it as a marketing tool. But that's all it is. When they say they're pro-black or woke or black excellence, it's just a marketing tool. That's why it's better to say woke or black excellence. It's not the same as saying I'm pro-black. Oh, you're pro-black. All right. So anyway, folks, leave your comments below. Tell us what you think of this conversation. We are out. Peace.
What business are you in?
I make my bread and butter. I'm pushing.
What business are you in?
I make my bread and butter. I'm pushing. I'm pushing. I'm pushing. I'm pushing.
What business are you in?
I make my bread and butter.